lot of it was visual. She didn't have a lot of dialogue.
But would you say this whole movie was all about time, taking the time, letting
Hmm.
scenes breathe, letting characters interact with other characters? There's a scene with Wonder Woman and Aquaman talking. I was like, that's you don't ever see that in the
When they
Whedon
were digging
version.
up Superman, yeah, that
Yeah,
was a great
yeah,
scene. Yeah,
that was a
and
great scene.
they had that commonality that you got to witness through that conversation.
Well, you
Uh,
understand that there was a war that the Amazonians had with the Atlanteans,
right.
and that is the first time that here they are sharing a moment where the Amazonians don't trust the Atlantic people.
Hmm.
So I just thought that was a nice little moment. You had comedy, and then there was comedy in the movie. Again, I still love that. I still love that beat where Barry Allen he puts on the hat, trying to pretend to be one of the soldiers, and he says, "Okay, does hat A work?" And then you see the expression on Aquaman's face. He's like grimacing. It's like, "Try the other hat," and he puts on the other hat, and he goes, "Put that other hat back on again." I mean, there were just some funny moments there, man.
Well, it was subtle and it was within the situation. It didn't feel forced. And I
Hmm.
think with the Josh Whedon version, it always felt forced. It always
Hmm.
felt like they were going for a gag, whereas this one kind
Yeah.
of was born from the situation they were in. I mean, another one that I liked a lot was when they were digging up Superman. You know,
Yeah, digging up Superman off my bucket list.
yeah, I mean that kind of thing was, just little
which,
moments like that
which,
was not big, but it made you chuckle, and you went, yeah,
but but
that's fun.
which is really funny because that same scene in the 2017 Justice League, I didn't like when they were digging up Superman. It just felt, and then you got Barry Allen tried to fist bump
The
with
fist bump,
Cyborg,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then it was like awkward. It was like they were trying to force jokes in there, but yet one of the best jokes in that graveyard scene was when Barry Allen looks over at Wonder Woman and says, "You think she might be interested in a younger man?" And then you got Cyborg saying, "Barry, she's 5,000 years old. Every man's a younger man."
Yeah, excellent. It was excellent, right?
Excellent.
That's an excellent moment, and but yet that's born out of the moment, right? That's born
Yes,
from
yes.
that moment. And another thing too, talking about gender. I mean, if you talk about Wonder Woman, she's so powerful in this film, in
Oh,
this version
yeah,
with Zack
yeah,
Snyder. She's so powerful,
yeah.
and you didn't get that in the Joss Whedon. In fact,
No.
you had situations where the Flash kept on saving her in the
Well,
Joss Whedon version.
but unfortunately, in the Whedon version, she was sexualized a lot.
Yeah,
I they got rid of that scene where Flash falls on top of her bosom, and then
yeah. That
there
was
were
just
some
wrong.
there were some cringe moments how they were kind of treating Wonder Woman in that movie. That Zack Snyder films and Patty Jenkins film never did. So I
Well,
mean,
in the Zack Snyder version, it was Wonder Woman saving Barry Allen, not the
I
other way
love that.
around.
I love that scene where he got injured and the parademons started to pick him up, and you heard him screaming, and she just cold bloodedly killed them right off the bat to
Hmm.
save him. You're right. It's she's more powerful, and it just worked so much better. Um, and also, what I loved about the resurrection scene again, I look at the I look at the 2017 version, and it's hard not you got to compare them. I'm sorry. I
Yeah, you
mean,
got to.
you got to because again, as an exercise, it's fascinating. It's technically the same story, but done opposite. They're totally
Yes,
different in the
yes.
way that they're executed. And if you look at the 17 version, you got kind of a forced argument between Wonder Woman and Bruce about bringing Superman back, and then you got Bruce
Ah,
throwing Steve
yeah.
Trevor in her face, and then she punches him, and then so there's that forced argument. But then in that Zack Snyder films, the whole team they explained it so well about how the mother box worked and how it could actually reanimate life. And when they
Hmm.
heard that, it was like, well, then if because Cyborg is made from the mother box, Cyborg was on the point of death, and he was reborn again. So if it worked, and it was Cyborg that was narrating this, which
Yes.
was totally cut out of the 2017 version. So if that's the case, then everybody kind of assumed, well, then we could do it with Superman. And how great was it? So when they did bring, I felt like they were finally working as a team. That in the movie, everybody was kind of separate, and Bruce had to bring people together. And now I'm starting to feel their connection and their chemistry working together. And that whole thing, when they're bringing him on the ship and they're about to do it, the moment where the conflict came in, and this is what I thought that scene was layered with drama, was when they're about to lure him, and then Cyborg got into the alien machine, and he's saying that the alien machine is begging us not, meaning Superman's ship is begging us not to bring him back to life.
Right.
And
Not to
now,
do
now,
this.
not to do this. Now you got the Flash already saying, I can do this, I could jumpstart him, and now Aquaman's kind of going, okay, I got a bad feeling, maybe we should do this. But
Hmm.
Batman's like, yeah, no, we're going to do this, let's do this. And then when Cyborg taps into the machine, he gets a flash forward of what would happen if you do bring up Superman, which is basically setting it up that if Superman comes back, the world's going to end.
And
And
you
when he
do get
sees
that
that,
glimpse of Lois being, I guess, a skeleton
yeah,
ashes or whatever, in that moment.
yeah, well, they go into the Injustice comic, which is
Hmm.
that Lois dies, Superman snaps, and Superman becomes kind of a dictatorship. But this time, I think but he's under the spell of Darkseid.
Hmm.
So when Cyborg sees this, and Barry's saying, "Should I go? Should I go?" And when Cyborg sees this, he says, "No,
Right.
don't, we can't." But Barry doesn't. He says, "Oh, go," and he
Right.
goes and does it. And I remember when I saw it, I was sitting there going, "Don't bring him back. No,
Yeah.
no, don't bring him
Yeah.
back." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's drama. They had me on the edge of on my seat because, and I've seen this movie, but yet as I was watching the Snyder cut, it was like I was watching it for the very first time because I was so thrilled on how the drama kept escalating.
Yeah. It's all
Yes,
about execution, and
yeah,
what you described there takes time.
yeah,
It takes time to
yeah.
do that. So if you're rushing through it and you're cutting here and cutting there, you know,
Doing
a lesser mind would go, do we really need that? I mean, we just show him getting resurrected and we get into the
it.
fight outside. That's really what's important. But when you
Well,
do that, you do miss those nuances that actually ups the game. And you may not even be conscious of the reason why you enjoyed that scene so much and why you were on the edge of your seat. You may
I
not even realize it, but you take it out and you sure do realize it then.
I think that, I just thought of something. I think that I've often asked, what's the difference between plot and story? I think that's the difference. I think that resurrection scene, and in both versions, is the difference. Meaning, I think the 2017 version, that's plot.
Right.
Plot is Superman gets resurrected and then he fights the Justice League. Story is members of the Justice League are having second thoughts, and you find out that if Superman does get resurrected, it could be the end of the world. That's where drama lies, and that's story. That's the problem. If you're a movie and you're a plot oriented movie, then you're not going to care about the characters. You got to care about the characters to make it interesting. And if you do that, then you still have your plot, but you really have your story. But
Exactly. Yeah.
if you're just giving me plot, then I don't really care. Then I'm sitting in the theater, and that's kind of what I did with Justice League. I pretty much sat through the theater and kind of like, all right. And every now and then I might go, like when they fight Superman, I go, all right, that's cool, that's cool. And again, all the
I
stuff
will
I
say
like.
the one scene when they're fighting Superman, and it's in both versions, so they at least they kept that intact.
Hmm.
It's one of the funniest moments when the Flash is running around
Yeah,
Superman, and Superman looks over at him.
you
I
give them the
thought,
side eye.
that's just brilliant, right? That's just brilliant to show how powerful Superman really is. And even
But
when
how?
he's fighting Wonder Woman, and they're doing the
Hmm.
headbutt thing,
Hmm.
and I'm like, I mean, because Wonder Woman's holding her own with Superman, right?
Oh yeah,
And the fact that they're going back and forth and back and forth. And another funny gag, which they once again,
they
I
cut
don't know
out.
why you leave this out, but
Hmm.
that great gag is when Flash accidentally like runs into Aquaman and knocks them both
Oh
back
yeah.
into the stairs. At the end of that scene, you got Aquaman just looking over at
He
him and
points
Barry
at
going,
him.
"I am so sorry." I say that was awesome because I felt that was organic. I felt that was just kind of natural. That's what those characters would do. That's how they would behave. It wasn't like
Honestly,
a forced quip.
and honestly, dude, and I don't know, and I really don't know what the issue is, but it does come off as vindictive because if there's a sequence where Cyborg comes at Superman, and Superman kind of puts him down. That's out. They've taken that out. It
Hmm.
did look like a deliberate. Not only are we not going to show anything that will show Zack Snyder in a very creative light of choices, but we're also going to get rid of every ounce of anything that's cyborg related, and that
That
just
that
I.
that that's just bizarre. It's just bizarre because, like it or not, he is one of your major characters in the film. So
But
by
he's also.
diminishing him to the point where you don't know anything about him or care about him,
It,
he's just another head floating around. It's
what,
like him and the Flash. I mean, even the Flash had a little bit more than he did in the Whedon cut, but
yeah.
the fact that you kind of diminished both of those characters to almost nothing. I mean, I guess they kept the Flash around only to make jokes and quips. When you think about the Cyborg character, he really was the heart of your movie. He was the heart. He's the one that was going through all of the turmoil. And the fact that you look at all the other superheroes, right? They got these
Hmm.
special powers, but they still look okay. You look
Yeah.
at him, he's got this machinery all around him. He looks more like a machine than he does a man. So, of
He's
course,
he's a tragic hero, and that's the sad
yeah.
part. And for you to diminish his backstory, look, it's been no secret that him, Ray Fisher, and Josh Wheaton did not get along whatsoever, and it does kind of come across a little racist because he's the
Hmm.
only black character, and yet you cut him off by the knees of any kind of development where he was meant to be the heart and soul of your story, and that's why I'm so grateful that this version exists. Because again, I came out of watching the
You
first
don't even
Justice
have his
League.
father's sacrifice. You don't even have
No,
his father's sacrifice in the Josh
no,
Whedon version. You would never have known that even happened. And I'm like
no.
going, oh my God, are you crazy? Why would you cut that? Why? I
Because
mean, the whole father son dynamic, and the fact that you took the time throughout the movie to kind of show him coming around to his father, right? I mean, at first
mhm.
he's kind of like he really harbors some strong resentment towards his father.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But even when they break into the Superman spaceship and his father's there, his
Hmm.
father sees what they're doing and he allows him to go on. In fact, he covers for him.
They set that up in his backstory because remember, even when you look how devastated he was at the football game, he wins the football game
Mm.
with a touchdown. His father doesn't show up,
Wasn't that a great
and
image of the empty seat? I mean, it's just so
I
simple.
it's
Just
so
so simple.
simple. It's so simple. And then him and his mom are talking about his father. They get in a car accident. His mom's dead, and he even says, if you would have been there, mom would still be alive. So of
Hmm.
course he's going to hold resentment for him. And now his father brings him back to life using alien technology, and he's a freak. That
Hmm.
so you have so much empathy for him, and you understand his journey, and he's the most tragic of the Justice League, and that's why he's kind of the heart and soul, because he still has to find a way to be a hero in spite of staying in the shadows. And that's what's so wonderful about his story. But when you look at the Wheaton version, you don't get any of that. You don't get
No,
any of
it's
that.
all
You
gone. It's all
It's all
gone.
gone. Unfortunately, this has happened in Hollywood a lot, which is that you set up a black character to look like, oh, they're going to be like either a big player in this storyline, if not one of the leads, and then somewhere down the line, their character gets diminished, and then they end up just supporting the white characters on there, and it's like, well, how did that happen and stuff like that. So I do believe, just how just being a person of color, that this is one of those institutional kind of, whether it's overtly racism, or it's a subconscious thing, but that has been a bad trend that's been going on, and you see it going on in Hollywood, where sometimes you, especially when you're with other white actors, those characters usually get supporting roles, or they get diminished, or if like I mentioned before, with all the other people that got cut from the movie, I thought it was interesting that all the people that got on the editing floor were the people of color. And I
Hmm.
think that in Hollywood, mine, if they have to trim something down, that's usually the first place they go. It does come across as if Josh Whedon did not like Ray Fisher at all.
Right.
And so, and I guess in his mind, and I don't know if this is true. This is all speculation. But when you look at the version of 2017, and then you look at the Zack Snyder version, you can't tell me that there was not some animosity there, because you cut out all the stuff that makes a character a character.
Right.
Why would anybody do that if you want to have a good movie?
Well, see, and that's another thing. I mean, this is where ego gets out of control, because I'm sure that this stuff happened years ago, and in fact, even more so decades ago. But I will say, for the most part, they would still keep stuff in the movie if they knew that it worked, and if they knew
Yes.
that
Yes.
that it was good
Yeah.
material.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
might not get along, but they were smart enough to know that for this movie to be successful, this has to go out like this. I might hate this guy. He might be a son of a bitch, but this movie is still going to have these scenes because it makes it a stronger film. Now, to let your ego get into the way, to where the fact that you would be willing to damage the art form or damage the film that you're working on in order for you to get back at somebody, is just silly to me. I mean, it just makes no sense from a creative standpoint, and it really makes no sense from a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
To go and sabotage it because you've got a beef against one of your actors or even the director or a producer or something, it just makes no sense to me. And we've seen this before too, where name actors with big names who you think would have enough power to stand up and say certain things and make a stand.
And they
don't do it because once again, they don't want to be pegged as being difficult, or they don't want to get a bad rep within the industry. And it's too bad that that's happened, because it did not always used to be that way. You used to hear about stories about actors who would stand up for things and fight for things, and a lot of times the movie turned out to be better because of it.
Right. It
got deep, didn't it? It got deep. It got the vapors.
I know it got real. Even I was like, damn, it got more real than I realized.
We went down that side. We went down that side road there for a minute.
Yeah,
kind of got dark. Kind of got woody.
Yeah. We went to that nightmare realm that's in the movie. Now, do you have a favorite scene in the Zack Snyder movie?
Wow, so a favorite scene. I have a few, actually.
Okay.
If I can have more than one.
Go for it.
Okay. Well, the Amazonian scene, without a doubt, right off the bat, is probably one of my favorite scenes of the whole film. I mean, all of that, even the scene, and it was in Justice League, the 2017 version as well. But once again, it showed more of this sequence, and even after everything went down, they lost the box and they went up to the temple to shoot that arrow to notify Diana what happened.
That was
just
great.
The buildup of that. There was a ritual involved in how they did this, which was completely cut out the Josh Whedon version. But just watching that ritual kind of gave you some insight on them as a culture, on the Amazonians and how they did things. And it was sort of beautiful and strong.
Well, it had weight because they realized what was at stake. It's like the New Gods had to defeat Steppenwolf, and you figure that was like 5,000 years ago or something like that, or 7,000, or God knows how long ago. Now they realize this is going to happen again. So the fact that they did the arrow was just this wonderful moment and it was actually a great moment between mother and daughter, because she did it to get her daughter's attention, which it did. And that's why I love the fight between her and Steppenwolf. And mind you, let's talk about Steppenwolf for example. I don't know about you, dude, but I actually kind of felt for Steppenwolf. I was shocked because in that first Whedon version, he sucked. He was a one-dimensional villain. Yeah,
Mother.
Okay. He has an Oedipus thing with his mom. I kept saying.
Well, thematically, the whole film thematically has this recurring thing, a theme about fathers and sons.
Yeah.
You see it with Barry Allen and his father that's in jail.
Yeah.
You see Cyborg and his father, the difficulties they're having and things.
Right.
And even with even with Superman, you have these local
How
voiceovers of his father in his head, kind of thing.
how cool was that? I was sitting there like, this is kind of cool. Where both father as Superman, which is not in the 2017 version, is walking on the ship, and he's getting advice kind of from both
From both
fathers.
fathers, right?
And quick question: did you think, as the fathers, Russell Crowe and Kevin Costner were giving him advice, did you ever get the sense that they were probably in the same room, and then after one would say something, then the other would say something, and then they kept out trying to out advice each
Out
other to the
advising.
point. Yeah, it's because it was almost like, okay, well, the Russell Crowe will be the last thing, and then Kevin Costner would say something. Now Russell Crowe's got to say something. It was like both fathers trying to up each other.
That relationship with Steppenwolf and Darkseid was sort of father son. It felt father and son. I mean,
Yeah,
I had never really said they were father and son, but it felt like it because he wanted his approval. He wanted his
yes.
love, or whatever you want
Yeah,
to call it.
that's actually a good point. I never thought of that, but you're
Yeah.
right, because he was out of favors with Darkseid, which could
Hmm.
be like a father figure, and you kind of felt for him because he wanted to come home. He felt like he conquered enough. He conquered enough worlds, and then what was it? Deshaun, I guess, is the other alien that's kind of like Darkseid's like attorney or right hand man is saying,
Right.
well, you still owe 50,000 more planets, and I'm like,
That's a lot.
50,000.
That's a lot of planets,
But
man.
there was an expression on Steppenwolf, and I think it helped that they gave him human eyes, because he was just like, damn, man, what do I got to do to come home? I felt bad for the dude, and I think that was great, because now I'm invested in this
Hmm.
character where I didn't care about him at all, even though I will say that he got fucked up at the end, man. They
Wow.
did.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, man,
Well.
everybody got a piece of Steppenwolf, man. Everybody. I was like, damn. But
But
okay,
I
so
think that that character, the reason why he made such a good bad guy, is because you
it,
kind of understood his motivation, you understood his situation, and you're right. You kind of felt bad for him. You said,
yeah,
"Damn, man, give the guy a break. Let him come home."
yeah.
Everything would be okay if you just let him
Well,
come
yeah,
home.
exactly. Because you know why we spend time with him, and you understand his motivation. And when you take away a character's motivation, and you don't know why he's doing what he's doing, then you can't relate to him. And that was the problem in the 2017 version. He
Right.
was just the bad. He was just the big bad. That was it. And then
Hmm.
you mentioned father and sons, but also mother and daughter, because
Hmm.
I was shocked at how Connie Nielsen, who played Diana's mother, had so much more screen time. I was
Yes.
excellent. I think she had more screen time in this movie than she had in the Wonder Woman movie.
I think she did too, which I was really happy she did because I really
Yeah.
like that character now. I didn't think much about that character before, but now I'm really
Mm-hmm.
like, dude, after seeing that opening scene, I can see a whole movie on just the Amazonians.
Yes, me too.
I say,
Me
let's just
too.
make a movie about the Amazonians because that's fucking badass. I mean,
Oh,
I
those
could
women were
totally live in that
crazy.
world for a couple hours.
Oh man, they were throwing down, and I mean, they were throwing down big time. And
Or my second scene that may be my favorite, at the Wonder Woman thing, the Wonder Woman with the terrorist and the little girl.
yeah,
That I got a little choked up on that one. I really
yeah,
did. And I mean, I'm
yeah.
like, wow, that's a beautiful moment.
Again, a powerful empowerment of women, and to
Hmm.
cut that where all these little girls and female fans could see themselves in Wonder Woman, and having a little girl say, "How can I be like you?" and having Wonder Woman without a beat say, "You could be anything you want." Again, how do you fucking cut that? How do you? Why would you cut it?
Why would you cut it? Right.
It does
Yeah.
you got to scratch your head on it. But I agree.
Yeah.
I thought, and how'd you love that image when she grabbed the bomb, like in the 2017 version, she just tossed the bomb up, but in this version she flies up, and
But
then when
once
she
again,
flies up,
there's that image of it's like
uh,
the image of you see the bomb and then you see her falling back and you see it
yeah,
all in one shot. And that's a beautiful, that is a beautiful superhero image
it
right
was
there. It's an
it
iconic
was
image.
yeah,
And to cut
because
that and say, oh, we don't want that.
oh
I
yeah,
just scratched my head going, why? What?
hmm, yeah,
Why would you
yeah.
not want that? My
Okay,
third
well,
one
no,
is
we'll do the four.
my third one is that moment when Lois Lane looks up and she sees Superman floating above the city. That got to me. I went, damn.
Yeah,
Okay, all right. Yeah, that was a great image, and seeing everything that happened before that with her grieving, and
Oh
seeing,
yeah.
and seeing him come back up like that, and her expression as an actor is just that physical expression she had on her face when she saw him.
Hmm.
Right,
It was beautiful. It was so beautiful. Okay, what's your fourth?
the turning back time at the end with the Flash.
Yeah, yeah.
When he turned back the time, when
Hmm.
everything got obliterated, and talk
Hmm.
about holy shit, the world just blew up.
That wasn't that great. Wasn't that
Yeah,
great?
and I'm
Did
like,
you did
oh
did you
wow,
feel okay? We were together when we were watching that scene, and
yeah.
and by the time we got to the end, you must have thought the way I did. Which we know how this ends. Superman comes back, and then they beat Steppenwolf, and then the parademons to turn on him, and that's how he dies, something
Oh,
like
which
that,
is
or
so
along those lines.
lame.
It's
So
so late.
lame.
It's so late. But when Cyborg couldn't stop it, and the box closed up, and they blew up. Did you just have that? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there was a what the fuck moment because you're
Yeah,
sitting
there was
there,
a
and for
what
that
the fuck?
split instant, you're going, "Oh shit,
What?
he's not going to end it like this, is he?
Yeah, they
This
lost.
isn't going to go off like this, right?" I
Yeah,
mean,
I thought the same. I'm like, oh shit, they lost. It was great.
but yeah, the fact that he comes back and he does the run, and because he's injured, right? He's
Hmm.
injured. They took the time to show that he gets
Yes.
injured, he's got to recover, and then he's got to do this time thing, and
Hmm.
which was very reminiscent, right, to the very first
Hmm.
Superman back in 1978. He was
Yeah.
able to turn back time by flying around the Earth. I felt like it was a nice homage to that in a way, with Barry Allen running so fast that he actually turns back time, and he's
Yeah.
able to correct that. In the lesser hands, I think that scene could have came off as trite and maybe unearned. It's just a screenwriter writing a scene out of the out of the air
Hmm.
because they can't end it this way. They wrote themselves in a corner. But I felt like it was earned. I felt like it made sense to me, and it didn't feel like it was just out of the blue. And the one thing that upset
Yes.
me more than anything about the whole that whole thing about the Russian family, which
Oh
made no sense
yes.
in the first place. The Why would Russians be living next to a nuclear reactor that went bad anyways? It's
Makes no
just stupid.
sense.
It makes no
But
sense.
yet.
But yet you chose to spend so much time with the Russian family and these
Hmm.
stupid jokes with like the Raid can. The little
Hmm.
girl pulls out of the kitchen's cupboard. Like, ooh,
Yeah.
that's funny. uh,
Hmm.
but you spent so much time and you divert um, the Barry Allen character, the Flash, to go save them when you could have left all of that out because it added nothing to it. You could have left all of
No.
that out and actually focused more on the cyborg character and his
Yeah.
father and the relationship between those two. You could have done that, and you would have probably not been able to use all of it, but you could have used a good amount of it. And yet
But you
you
know,
decide to do that with a family that you care nothing about.
and that's so true, and that's telling, because Cyborg is one of the Justice League. He is a character that this is his first time being introduced to the world on screen. And yet, instead of doing the proper backstory, even if you don't do all of it, and even if you're limited to a 2 hour time span, you would rather negate the only black character that you have on the Justice League to devote to a white Russian family that did nothing to forward that movie except for some sight gag, that not only that you had with the raid, but then you also took away the power of what the Flash was able to do at the end by running to save the world. I mean,
You
you
gave
took
some
that out.
bullshit, yeah, some bullshit thing of saying a Russian family that shouldn't be living there anyways.
It
That in
shouldn't be
reality
living.
would be dead years ago because they would have died of radiation poisoning, right?
Yeah,
It's just
and
stupid. It's stupid and it's a
it's
bad
stupid.
call.
Yeah, just so you can set up a gag where he rushed them out in a truck, and then he looks over and sees Superman pick up a building with some other family that we never saw in a building that should not be living in a radiated
Bizarre.
area. It's
Bizarre.
stupid, but
And another thing that they did too in that sequence that really bugged me in the Josh Whedon version, they had
Mhm.
these like tentacle things coming out of the ground. Remember, they
Yes.
had those tentacle things coming in the ground. I
Yeah.
guess it was
Yeah.
terraforming Earth
Yeah.
or something, and
Hmm.
it was so distracting. And I
Yes.
remember seeing the Zack Snyder version and being involved in that whole sequence and just being there,
Yeah.
in that action and being able to concentrate. I was so distracted in the Josh Whedon version of these things coming out of the ground while Batman's racing through the streets that I didn't really kind of understand what was going on because it was so busy and so distracting that I didn't even what little parts in there that they did keep. I didn't enjoy it the way I did in the Zack Snyder version because of all these distractions.
And you're so right because it was such a distraction because they spent a lot of, again, unnecessary time of showing things growing out of the ground with the tentacles. Where the question you kept saying, "What is that? What does that do?" Where in the again in the Zack Snyder version, you didn't have any of that. You didn't have to worry about that. And also, what's with that damn red color tint? It was just
Oh,
so ugly and ugly
once again, the
looking.
color grading of this version was you just scratch your head. You just wonder because the Zack Snyder version looked terrific. It looked great from beginning
It
to
did.
end.
It
And
did.
I just don't understand why you change things for the sake of changing them, especially when you're not changing it for the better, at least in my
Yeah.
opinion.
And
Yeah.
I agree. If you have 2 hours, and that's all you're given, then wouldn't every moment count with your main cast? And then wouldn't you focus on the three new characters that didn't have their own solo films? So you really had to try to do a little, as much as possible, to flesh those characters out. And I think it's an insult that two of your lesser known characters, or at least one particular lesser known character, like Cyborg, and even to the Flash for a lesser extent, that you we kept going back to this Russian family that made no damn sense, and it took up time, like you said, that could have been devoted to Cyborg and his father, the relationship between his father, or keep Barry to keep that ending, which was such a powerful ending of him saving the world by running as fast as he can. But you
Yeah.
negated all that, and I'm sorry, but it does feel as if that those moves for that cyborg character was deliberate.
It's almost like we're going to teach you guys a lesson or something. I don't know, but there are smart people behind even the Josh Whedon version. I've seen Josh Whedon's stuff in other movies. I might not
Mhm.
like all of it that he does. I might not be, Avengers were okay. His Avenger films were fine. They're not memorable to me at all, but I enjoyed them.
You
They were
do
what
you
they
have
were.
do you have a favorite Josh Whedon film?
You know, it- it's not really a film, but I would say Firefly. I'm one of the Firefly geeks out there. I do love Firefly.
Well, I mean, he did direct Serenity,
Yeah, and I like Serenity. I mean,
and that's a film.
because I like those characters. Honestly, with Serenity, I was a little disappointed because I felt like you had an opportunity to kind of push the envelope with those characters that you weren't able to do in the TV show. And because you
Hmm.
had an opportunity to do a feature film, I felt like there should have been certain things that you could have really gone there and done it because you're probably only going to get one shot at this, so you might as well go all the
Hmm.
way, right?
And you didn't like, and you thought the Avengers were okay, but you were never a big Avengers fan, were you? Or
Marvel
both
across the
films?
board. I mean, like I said before, I enjoy Marvel. I like watching them in the moment that I'm watching them. They don't stick with me. I don't know why. I don't know why I don't go back to them like a lot of other people do.
But you feel like the Zack Snyder Justice League will stick with you?
Oh, I have no doubt. I have no doubt that this movie will stick with me.
Yeah. Well, it was so funny because when I saw it when we saw it Thursday, I couldn't stop thinking about the film. I couldn't
Hmm.
wait until I saw it again. And only honestly, only great films do that. When I see something and I'm blown away, there's that moment of like, gotta see that again. I gotta see that again. It's one of the few movies that when it was over, I clapped. But when they actually stood up after they defeated Steppenwolf
Hmm.
and they were all together, I was clapping because I was generally happy for characters who started off as misfits and loners and had to work together, and in a film that brought all those ingredients together and made an epic Lord of the Rings with superheroes and stuck the landing. Wow. I mean, I can't wait to just, already my imagination is just like, okay, what am I? I can't wait to finish our film, you know?
Well, it's a
I
great
mean,
day. I think it's a great day for artists. I think it's a great day for
yes,
filmmakers with visions. I think it's,
yes,
if anything, hopefully, um, it'll make an impact, and they'll be a little bit more open minded to visions that might not fit into what they think is going to be commercially
yes.
successful.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think that maybe what this can also teach all of us is sometimes you just got to lead by faith. Maybe if
Hmm.
you hire a visionary director or any director, let them finish their vision. Let them. Not saying that you can't have a studio obviously they should have input, and it is their money. But knowing that something great almost got lost should scare any filmmaker and any studio because this thing's going to make money and it's going to be successful. Then they have to stop and realize we did a disservice to this movie. They
Right?
really
Yeah,
did.
they got to own that. They got to own that, and they got to
They got to
hopefully
own it.
learn from it. Right? I remember stories about the good and the bad and the ugly when Sergio Leone did his spaghetti westerns. How they chopped that in Once Upon a Time in the West. How the
Yeah,
studios cut that up to where it was incomprehensible, and then
but
years
I,
later, the full version comes out and it becomes a classic.
it becomes a classic, exactly. But I guess at the same time, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this before, because it's historic. It's literally you chopped off an additional 2 hours and reshot another 40% of what this man had. And then, I guess the difference is all the good stuff you left on the editing floor. That is
Hmm.
surprising.
That's the head scratcher, right?
Yeah, that's
That
the
you felt
crime.
the need to go back and reshoot scenes that completely worked in the first version, and you
Yes.
went back and reshot it, and then to add insult to injury, the scenes you do keep, you use alternate takes or cut it up to the point where a scene that did work doesn't work now.
See, I think this is the problem. If you're making movies to try to make money by trying to shortcut things that you think the audience might want to see or trying to emulate another studio, then that's where you fail. And because the audience is just too sophisticated. They've seen these movies, they've seen these comic books, they know these characters. They know when you're trying to be like Marvel, and but say what you will, Man still, particularly Batman v Superman, still made money. And I
Hmm.
always believed that. I believed even if you gave this 4 hour Justice League a shot and you did an intermission in between, and you're saying, and if you go out there and say, we're going to do something crazy, we're going to do a rated R 4 hour intermit, that's what I would do. That I would
Yeah.
saw this and said, we're putting this in the theater, and look, but you have to know going in, we're not going to make the money that Marvel's going to make, but
Hmm.
you got to be okay with that, and you got to go, and you know what, we're going to be playing on limited theaters, and it's going to kind of feel like an art house. But you know what? That's the risk you take because I believe this movie's great. They took a
Right.
risk with Joker, and that was a rated R movie, and
And look what
we
happened.
saw.
Look what
And look what
happened.
happened. A being
That's a
done. Now, of course,
billion dollars at the box
oh,
office and Oscar nominations. And I guarantee you, Greg, even in 4 hour running time,
yes,
after a couple months, it would have made more money than what they made with the
exact.
short
Oh,
version.
absolutely. No, no, absolutely. You could have been prestige in
Hmm.
that regard. So sometimes it's good to be different.
Hmm.
And I think that's the lesson there.
I just think if you make something that's of quality, it will find its audience eventually. Unfortunately,
Yes.
it might not be that quick fix, that opening weekend $300 million that you want,
Yeah.
and that you've seen other movies make. But
Hmm.
if you believe in the vision and you believe in the story you're telling, it might make it later on. It has legs. It's going to be word of mouth. It's going to be one of those things that will grow in time. It's not guaranteed, and nothing is. I mean, there's a lot of great movies out there that's been released that's not done well
and bombed.
And bombed, you know.
Yeah.
But most of them though have at least stuck
They
around.
survive. Usually good storytelling and good filmmaking find a way to find an audience.
Yeah.
You know, because most of the time they're ahead of their time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it takes the next generation to go, dude, I don't know what's wrong with y'all, but this movie's great. You know, and they find it.
Yeah.
So, wow, this has been one hell of a conversation. Didn't think
it has, my friend. And
long.
remember, what we always say: like and subscribe.
Yes. If you want to hear more interesting things from Lee and Greg, please follow us on our Noir the Film YouTube channel. Like and subscribe, and leave a comment. Leave a comment if you agree with anything we said in this podcast. Leave a comment if you don't agree with anything.
And if you want our social security number, go ahead and ask.
Yeah. All right, my friend. I'm going to say good night.
All right, man. Good night.